Unusually I've been having a slight problem with my long handle loppers from Jardine De France. I use these commercially and have done for many years. These are my third pair. I gave one pair away, and but I've given two pairs away now actually. But I think with these the ratcheting doesn't seem to be working properly. I can't hear the click and the ratchet. So I think the spring, which is, if you can just see it, tucked in there. I don't know how, get my little shadow out of the way, but in there is a spring, and I think it might have either broken or come loose. So I'm going to have a little investigate and see what we can find. Unusually I've developed a problem with my Jardine De France loppers, and there's no clicky on the ratchet, so I think the spring's broken. So today's job will be to try and replace the spring. The good news is, so I looked on their website, they do provide the springs and the small parts free of charge, not the cutting blades, but they do provide them. So if you email them, they will apparently send you, according to their website, the small parts you need, springs, clips, etc, but not the blades. Okay, I'll have a little look and we'll see how we get on. So to get at the spring, there are three nuts that need to be loosened off. It's 1, 2, 3, and then we can get at the spring, which is in here. These two, when you put them back together again, they stay loosey to make it work, and this one's tighty. So that's it. So no clicky. So that means that the spring has probably gone. So let's have a little look. So now I've got the socket set on this one big bolt here, which, as I say, it's loose now, and when you put it back together again you need that to be loose, otherwise it won't work. I say loose, it needs to be tight enough to hold the bolt in, but loose enough to make the mechanism work. So I've got that on that side socket, and then I'm going to use this adjustable spanner on the back and then loosen them off. In position that adjustable spanner and then just turning this. Hopefully you can see that with the socket. That should be loose enough. Inside here, actually not on this one, but some of these have a little bit of plastic, whatever, I don't know what it is, within the threads to stop them shaking loose. This one doesn't have it, probably doesn't need it maybe. So that's now off. Let me take away that. If we can get it out, maybe it'll come out a bit easier later on maybe. It's still firmly secure, that little bolt, but we'll leave that for a minute and we'll just loosen these other two. So now I'm going to loosen off these other two nuts and bolts. So this particular nut and bolt has actually got a screw fitting on the side, on the back of this one. So we can either hold that with a screwdriver, and hopefully, still, it's never been undone before since it was put together, so it comes apart quite easily with the Phillips starry head screwdriver. Take that apart, keep those safely, just watch out for any other bits that pop out during the process, and remember which order they were in. So that little bit there, this is the bits that get forgotten, that little bit there was just inside there and the nut was on top of it. So what I tend to do is just put the nut carefully on top of that, so as you know the position that they go back into. That one, and there's the little screw. Maybe I'll put those all back together again temporarily, keeps them all safe and sound. So I'll just show you that. So you've got the screw head, the nut, and that clever little bit there that you don't want to lose, because that's the bit that probably makes everything actually work. quite important. Now we've got the final and third screw bolt. Just put our little spanner. Put our spanner on that side there. Try and hold it in place. And I'll just undo that if I can. Yeah. Sometimes you need to press it in a bit firmly with your screwdriver, and once again that should now be loose enough to take out with your fingers. So see, hopefully, oops, there we go. So that, as you can see, has now come out. And once again we'll put the nut on. For those of you who don't necessarily know, the nut is, there's a sort of wider part there which goes onto the thread, and the narrower part there is the top, the outer part of the nut. So hopefully, taking those out, that should now come out. But this one at the moment seems to be, the big one there seems to be stuck there for some reason, so I don't know why. So may need a bit of assistance from the what we call in the UK the Brummy hammer. I think my camera's running out of battery power. Shame. So this final bolt seems to be stuck in a bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the hammer just to gently encourage it out. Woke you up? Right, I'm just going to gently now knock out this bolt. Great! Shows how much work I've done with it. Obviously been designed so it stays put. There we are, that's now out. I'll put that together with its nut for the time being, and then we'll know where it is. Here we are. So now this little bit here should just hopefully slide off. You can see that, just easing that off gently. Oops, there we go. And in there probably is the broken spring. Let's have a look. There we are. As I thought, the spring at the bottom was broken off, probably because if I'd have put a little bit of more WD-40 on, but I use these in all conditions, so need to make sure I keep putting some WD-40 or similar on it. And so we get a spring from Jardine De France. Hopefully they will send us free of charge, and then we'll pop it all back together again. Job's a good one. So the tools we've used in this process have been the Phillips screwdriver, the 12 or 13 mil, 13 mil socket, adjustable spanner, and this is actually an Imperial spanner, but it actually fits, so that actually is 5/16, which will mean nothing to many, but it's does the job. So if the size fits, use it. Just as both you and I remember, when you come to refit the new spring, obviously I haven't got the new spring yet, but hopefully that will come. This larger, there's a longer end here, you can't see it on here because we've got the other bits broken off, but the larger end of the spring goes at the top of this clever piece of metal. So basically the larger piece of spring, the larger loop, will be at that top inside there, but the top there, and a little bit which is broken off will loop onto this little pin at the bottom here.